testimony. Now, I'm sure that if you clicked on this video, you've probably heard of what testimony is before. And if you haven't, no worries, I'll give you a quick rundown. Testimony, at least in a biblical sense, is a witness, evidence, or declaration of one's faith and experiences with God. Now, that might sound a little technical, but all that really means is you're telling others about how God has worked in your life. This could be about how God's brought you from one place to another, how He's changed the way that you act, talk, or think. Really, testimony is just your story about how Jesus has worked in your life. And today I wanted to share my testimony with you. So I've grown up in a Christian home. I've always gone to church and believed in Jesus, but I thought that Christianity was just going to church on Sunday. I never really knew more than that. And I just kind of went along living my life like that through my elementary and middle school years. Now, flash forward to entering junior high school. I became addicted to pornography on accident, stumbled across it on Google, and then started to just kind of spiral deeper and deeper into that. And COVID didn't help because we were at home online on like screens and phones and iPads all the time. And I just began to get more and more addicted to that. And it was a terrible feeling. Really, I didn't know where Jesus was in that situation because I could feel that something was wrong about what I was doing, but I didn't know what Jesus said about that. I didn't know how to pray to Him, how to give it over to Him. So that was something that I just continually struggled with. Something else that I really struggled with was truly finding a purpose as to like why I was on this planet, because there were no subjects that interest me. There was no career fields. I know I was in probably junior high school, but there was no career fields that I could like see myself going into. You know, you have dreams of, oh, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a paleontologist. Like, no, I didn't have any of those dreams, and I never knew why, and I just felt so lost. So the first time that I ever truly encountered Jesus was at a summer camp at Cedarville University. It was the summer before my 8th grade year. And I just remember, I couldn't tell you exactly what the sermon was about, but I remember the pastor preaching about how nobody is too far gone from the love of Christ. And I remember sitting there over my Bible, just tears pouring out my eyes because I could just so immensely feel the love of Jesus on my heart. And I remember in that moment praying, Jesus, I believe in you, but I give my life over to you, Lord. Use me. Here I am, send me. And I just remember from that moment on that I just wanted to be used and led by Jesus for my entire life. After that moment and from that camp, the Lord brought in a special group of people who were able to hold me accountable, and from mentors and leaders, and just from giving it over to Jesus every day, I was able to overcome my pornography addiction. It wasn't easy and it wasn't pretty, but I know that without Jesus, I don't think I ever would have been able to do that. And He just so radically changed my heart and just took away that addiction. And it wasn't instantaneous, but over time, through leaders and mentors, it did happen. So flash forward a couple years again, and I'm still wrestling with the question and the idea of what do I want to do with my life? How can I use my life to honor God? And some of the gifts that God had given me were the ability to speak in public and in front of crowds, but also the ability. I was good at math and science and chemistry and things like that, and I had been told by a lot of people and by my youth pastor that, hey, you should look into ministry. You should look into being a pastor. And I was like, oh yeah, I would love to do that. That sounds awesome. But the more I looked into it, the more I was unsure, the more I questioned. I was like, well, will I be able to support a family? Will this financially be enough for me? And I wasn't giving that over to God, giving those questions to God. I was just letting the standards that the world has rule my perception of what that career and how using my life to spread the love and gospel of Jesus in that way would look like. And I remember sitting at a kitchen table just thinking, man, I want to do this pastoring job, but also I could make so much more money if I went into like a chemistry or a science field. I remember sitting there and I was talking to God and I was praying. I was like, Lord, I know that I could do this, but I think what I'm going to do is go into a chemistry field, Lord. I'm afraid that I won't be able to provide, and that this is just a more stable and better route for me to go down. And so I pray that prayer and I'm talking to the Lord. And right after I pray that, I start to walk over just to like the living room, and I get a ding, a text on my phone. And a friend of mine, out of the blue, completely randomly, texts me and says, hey, I think that you would be an amazing pastor. And this was completely unprompted. There were no prior conversations to this. It was just completely out of the blue. And I remember sitting there thinking, oh, okay, God, I hear you. I see you. I'm going to do this. So, in that probably 5-10 minute span, there was a lot of different roller coasters of emotions and decisions. But God used that text message and that friend and just spoke to me so clearly and told me that, hey, you can do this. I want you to go into ministry. And by diving more into my word and more into prayer, that fear of, will I be able to provide? Will I be able to, live in this world like with that salary because it is lower? The Lord just showed me, He said, I will provide for you. Give me your life and I will provide for you. And so from that text, that one text, God just spoke to me in such a radical way and set me on the path that I am now. I want to go to school to become a pastor and to eventually maybe start my own church and just continue to spread the love of Jesus Christ. And I know that from that very moment I gave my life over to Jesus and prayed for Him to use me, Lord, here I am, send me, that He was just working on my life. The truth is, there is so much more that I could say about how God has worked in my life. And maybe I will sometime. Maybe I'll make a longer video going more in depth. But the truth is that Jesus can work in anyone's life. He can use you for amazing things, everyday things. And Jesus just loves you so much. And by giving your life over to Him, He will completely change the way that you live, think, act, and I just hope that this was encouraging today. The truth is, Jesus is still working in my life, and He will work in yours. My story is not over, and your story is not over either. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, and if you want to join me on this journey of living our lives out for Jesus, please subscribe. I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day, and God bless you.